Hello, everybody, and welcome to this surprise edition of A Critical Look where we just talk about shit and it's not necessarily about reviewing shit. Anyway, my name's HSR.
My name's Chris Chrome.
We are the non-professional people you come to have conversations with, and this episode in particular is meant to be more of like a conversation because I care a lot about what you guys think on the subject. It's pretty hot topic. It's a little bit trendy. I was accused of being trendy this week by wanting to talk about this, but screw it. This is like a field day in my fucking life. Let me just tell y'all about my week. So prior to this week, I liked MGK. I liked Eminem.
Right.
But nobody wanted to talk to me about rap music, let alone MGK and Eminem. You know, and if you want to check out our Bloom review, it's one of our most hated videos, so feel free to go check that out. Hit that dislike button. Let's get that shit up to as many dislikes as we can, because apparently, you know, we weren't allowed to dislike that album a bit, so just whatever. So MGK, whatever, anyway, so this week, Eminem drops Kamikaze, as y'all know. Fucking disses MGK. MGK comes back with his diss song. And then I go to work on Tuesday, because Monday is Labor Day in Canada, for those of you in Europe and shit. And all of a sudden, Holden, what did you think of the MGK diss song? Holden, who's MGK? MGK. I swear I maybe have talked about MGK to 15 separate people who have never heard of the guy before this week, right? And then I saw like the hip hop heads like kind of talking about this conversation, and basically it was like, oh, MGK's career is over, and I'm like, now this is an interesting topic, right? Because, you know, so that's what this video is kind of about. I know this is really loose. It's not a very structured conversation, but basically I'm of the position that MGK is a very smart motherfucker, and there is a 0% chance that MGK loses from this situation, even if Eminem absolutely destroys him in whatever response is coming. I can say that for a couple of things. So here's why. MGK has a really big fan base. A real big fan base. Now, you might not be of that fan base or know it exists or care that it exists, but like MGK was doing a headline tour at Linkin Park before Chester passed. Like, that's some pretty big in certain circles kind of fan base in terms of exposure and stuff. So maybe MGK isn't Eminem level status, and maybe MGK is opening for Fall Out Boy, which in other circles is a very big deal, and in hip hop is maybe not a big deal at all.
But it does suit like MGK's thing. Like, he is that rocker type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when you
and
look
so,
at
like,
it, he doesn't look like your average
He's
rapper.
kind of like, I expect to see him on the Warped Tour or Rock Fest. That's Montreal, kind of like festivals I would know here. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't be shocked if MGK and Tech Nine are like the guest stars on a fucking heavy MTL or metal festival. You know, like that shit wouldn't surprise me. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think hip hop is actually aware that MGK has fans. You know, like that's what I learned. Like the guy's got.
Doesn't that say something though? Like the culture, the industry, the game, whatever you want to consider hip hop to be, doesn't acknowledge that you actually have fans as a rapper,
unless they're in like the same sphere or the same vein of whatever. Like, so Eminem's fan base is probably a little bit older, probably likes, you know, a more traditional thing, and everybody knows Eminem's the GOAT and stuff. MGK's got like a much younger fan base who may admire and even like Eminem, but like in general, it's just baffling to me to think that MGK is doing anything here other than making a large impact of like gaining fans and people gaining awareness for his brand and like making a fuck ton of money off of this situation.
But I think that's where the division is. It's like, because there's multiple talks that are going around in terms, like, if we're going to talk about MGK's career, that's one thing. If we're going to talk about Eminem, MGK making a better diss song than Eminem, that's another conversation. You know what I mean? Like, we can say that I'm agreeing on the point of view of MGK baited Eminem into
absolutely
doing this.
Ate those little M&Ms in that Twitter video.
But I do have my own theories in terms of the diss tracks themselves and some of the content that was said.
Right. And I mean, I look at it like Eminem's diss towards MGK is like super light. Like it wasn't really heavy. It was.
Well, hold on. Okay, so if we look at Eminem's diss to MGK,
Hold on, I got that like somewhere over here, I think. Anyway, go on.
well, okay, so if we look at Eminem's diss to MGK, from what I read and remember reviewing, he's going after MG. From what I interpret, he's going after MGK on the Tech Nine verse.
That for like that was kind of like the icing on the cake type of thing. I mean, first of all, the way I look at that is pretty much the whole verse is directed at MGK. Even
Yes.
if people focus in on just like the bars, and like I'm saying this because I've seen a few of these little videos and nobody's talking about the first part of this verse, right? But you got to keep in mind, MGK just dropped the gunner where he kind of implies stuff like, he's this hardcore coming
Yeah.
at you type person, right?
Yeah.
So this whole first part, you say you're affiliated with murderous killers, the people who run with the thuggin', but you just don't want to be gunna. And then he plays off of gunna puns like 3 or 4 times in there, and he just kind of calls MGK a bit of a poser. That's what I took from that part. I mean, we discussed that at length in the Kamikaze review. I don't want to really go too
Right.
like deep into it. And then for the sake of this conversation, he then comes in and does, you run the streets, huh? Now you want to come and fuck with me, huh? This little cocksucker must be feeling himself. He wants to keep up his tough demeanor, so he does a feature, decides to team up with Tech Nina, but next time you don't got to use Tech 9 if you want to come at me with a submachine gun. And I ain't talking to you, but you already know who the fuck you are, Kelly. Which is just so corny that he made an R. Kelly pun out of his name.
I can see that
It's
like
so
maybe
corny.
the verse is a little light, but I feel like
I don't feel like Eminem was trying here.
I don't
Sorry.
think he was. I don't think he was, but I feel like because I'm really stuck on like MGK's content. I'm stuck on the fact that like MGK for me he made a line where he's like it took Eminem 6 years to respond to the
that
Twitter,
was a
right?
stupid ass line.
But for me, I'm sitting here like it took Eminem 6 years to diss you on the Twitter thing, which kind of just proves that Eminem doesn't give a fuck. Like he's kind of like so far off.
Hold on, shut up before they call you an asshole in the comments.
Like it kind of sounds like Eminem might be so far off, like off the radar in terms of. And don't forget, this is also after coming off the album where he does kind of make that on one of the songs. Eminem does say like, whatever it's like Joe Budden's remark or something like that he does like it's not on his radar, right?
Well,
so I'm like it kind of shows.
If I may counter that, if the other part of the diss track where Jimmy Iovine and everybody's calling up MGK 6 years ago because Eminem's mad about the tweet,
Fair enough.
then it's kind of a fair statement that is like kind of saying you waited 6 years to bring that shit up. But I don't really think that's what it was. I think it was more. So I think what Eminem's approach to this was kind of saying, and yeah, I've been aware this whole time, motherfucker, and just kind of what he's saying with that last little line. But the point was he feels like MGK is a bit of a tough guy, and he's trying to like bring him down and show he's like really whatever. And I do think that it was a little bit, Eminem was lightly trying to emasculate MGK's stature as a hardcore kind of guy with this like light version of what he could do, like a little bit of a don't fuck with me kind of way. But like I think MGK knew what he was doing. He's more in touch with the trolling culture than say
Right.
an Eminem in the modern trolling sense than say Eminem might be, and he kind of just he baits him on the Tech 9 song, and then he already has Rap Devil ready. Like he more, I'm certain. Okay, I don't think that he had the track written in specifics and recorded,
But he
I
had the
think
plan and strategy.
he's got like a book of disses ready to go at Eminem. Like if I'm MGK right now, I watched that Joe Budden podcast and I'm just taking notes, but I probably already have a lot of these notes.
But, like,
but
even
then
that-
you take that and you wait to see what Eminem does, and you come up with like 15 strategies, ready responses, things to throw into your track, and you're just ready for it so that when Eminem drops his shit 2 days later, you got your next one ready to go.
But as per the Joe Budden podcast, like I also saw you say it on Facebook. Like, what do you mean exactly? Because I watched the whole thing, and I'm just there
So to answer that, it has a lot to do with the insecurity issues, the fact that Eminem...
Of Joe.
No, of Eminem. And if you look at Kamikaze, one of the things they talked about on the podcast that I thought was particularly interesting is the comparison of Jay-Z to Eminem and how Jay-Z does not rap like he has anything to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z just lets you know he's the best by booking off the Louvre and dropping an album with Beyonce out of nowhere and owning that shit, you know? And that was a surprise release. Eminem saw that surprise release, did his own surprise. I'm not eluding that Eminem stole the idea from them.
Right.
I'm saying that even Jay-Z did it first. Like, even Jay-Z is more ahead of the curve. He knows what the fuck is up. So what Joe Budden was implying is that Jay-Z has swagger, confidence, and is in touch with the culture. Whereas Eminem is on Kamikaze, it felt like a guy who had everything to prove to the world because his last album kind of bombed and he was being an insecure guy, and et cetera, et cetera. And in Joe's mind, it didn't come off like the GOAT. Now, if I'm MGK, I'm paraphrasing that fucking word for word almost and coming in my own twist, my own flair on that. But like some of the core concepts Joe dropped just kind of fed content for like a couple of songs if MGK is smart about that shit, is kind of what I meant when I put that tweet out. Like, I was watching it and I'm like, even if you don't agree with him, it's not necessarily the point. It's about the beef. Now, somebody asked on Facebook why people are even celebrating this beef, and I realized, just to answer that quick on a tangent, is that this shit reminds me of like hockey, right? The way people talk about hockey and other sports, the ways this whole week, I've like, for once I get it, I'm involved. It's about, you know, two rappers I love going at it. Mm-hmm. So it's like an NHL fan, not like a specific team fan.
Well, I feel like it's not just two rappers going at it. Like, I was sitting back and thinking about that earlier. It's like
and G-Eazy and
I'm watching a rapper that, for me, like MGK going at Eminem is like MGK going at the guy who inspired me to rap. You know what I mean? Like, it's more than just. I think a lot of people are kind of still coming at it, and from what I think is just like it's more than just a rapper. It's like, this is somebody who like taught me certain shit. Like, help me get through, you know? And MGK's been around for a minute, but not as long as Eminem has. So I feel like there's a different stature to that.
And I do think that Eminem has clout, has this giant infrastructure behind him, this money-making machine, putting $50 million into an album, as was put in the, I think it was either Crooked Eye or, you know, Joe, one of those guys said it. But so Eminem's got all this power and all this shit going on, and he's had it like a lot of his career, at least since he's like whatever, since he's maybe around MGK's age, you know, like he was in his mid-20s when he popped off. MGK's in his mid to late 20s now. Like, he's 28, so he's late 20s, not that much older. So you have MGK being like this hungry shark guy who drops this track, and let's be real, in like modern rap beef songs, this is one of the nicest diss tracks I've heard. Whether or not it's going to be good next to Eminem, to me, is kind of irrelevant. Like, this is better than the Control verse to me on Kendrick Lamar, where he kind of went in. This was like some hit 'em up type shit. This is some Ether takeover type shit. He went personal. He said names. He did all sorts of shit. He told some stories. And like, to me, this felt like battle rap circuit type shit being brought to like mainstream with big stars. This is some, from a sports perspective of the hip hop side, this was exciting, right? Because then it's like, what's Eminem gonna do? We don't know. A week's gone by and all he's done is played Pac-Man. So, like, I don't know if you saw the video that he's playing, because MGK's got a Pac-Man tattoo. Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm, like, sitting here going, I mean, it's interesting because it's making people care about hip-hop. And it's hopefully going to inspire people to go back to, like, rapping out their diss tracks and shit. Like, just as a comparison, it's kind of fucked up that, like, Nicki Minaj and, like, Cardi B are literally breaking into a face fight instead of, like, settling this with rhymes. Who's the better rapper? Why don't you guys just drop some shit? Anyway, that's just a side note. I do care about everything you guys think, and I apologize if I'm talking over Chris. I'm self-aware. I'm working on it. Go on.
Oh, I just wanted to bring up... when MGK dropped the whole Kim line, I felt a little bit like that was a reach.
That was great.
I was like, I get the punch to it, but I'm like, Eminem, for me, Eminem already apologized to Kim. I feel like he buried that entire story. It's like, for me, MGK was just bringing it up like, here's another jab for no reason. Like, it wasn't...
I'm sorry. It's boxing in rap form, dog. He's bringing it. Look at it like from a Joe point of view. Eminem didn't say anything to make Joe want to get out of bed and go rap. And if Eminem does, Joe's gonna go rap.
I don't know. Joe's really adamant about being retired.
Sure, but he said it himself. If Eminem brings his A game, drops a track dedicated at him outside of an album release that targets him and shows that it's not about a profit plan but wants to go at Joe, he'll respond. He's on wax, as they say, doing it. For the record, what do y'all think about a diss podcast? Is that where we're at now? That was a diss podcast. That wasn't like us reviewing an album and not liking it. That was like Joe Budden, instead of making a diss track, made a diss podcast.
He had a lot of shit to say.
Anyway.
But it was...
In Joe's head, it wasn't a diss. Get it? Get it? If you guys watch the podcast, you know what I mean. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, like, that also, and I'm not trying to center it around the Joe Budden podcast, but there was a lot of information that I got from it. Like, but I felt like a lot of it was personal to Joe, though, like how he felt about the industry, how he felt about, like talking to M and stuff like that. I still don't.
Yellow Wolf has said similar things. A lot of rappers. Look, Shady Records, as a record label, does not have the track record, per se. Eminem, the artist, is the inspirational figure he is. Shady Records, the label, might not... Like, seriously, like, even look at the Shady X5 album. It wasn't that great. It was, like, okay. I can't say that their ciphers were over the top. I can't say that there was, like, a lot that I've seen from the Shady Records camp since Eminem Presents the Re-Up, which was pretty sick. So since 2008. Anyway, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm saying I like the individual acts involved. Yellow Wolf's one of my favorites. Skylar Grey's extremely talented. Slaughterhouse is dope. But, like, end of the day, it's not exactly like being on Shady Records has helped many people's career skyrocket. And you could say 50, but keep in mind that was a joint aftermath venture and blah, 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 blah. And if you actually go look into the acts exclusively signed to Shady, it's not as good as the ones that are co-signed with Dre. Anyway, so that's that. But back to like the MGK thing. I don't think that MGK's diss song is the greatest diss song of all time.
It's not.
Because it's not. I mean, there's great ones.
I just want to bring up the point, though, of, again, another thing. He brings up Haley, and let's just all, like, he did kind of publicly sexualize her on Twitter.
Right.
Like, MGK did kind of go at Haley like that. And I feel like Eminem was very clear on, what was it, Toy Soldiers or another track. He was like, I heard Haley's name on the TV and I lost my shit. Like, I feel like for me, I already had this image like you shouldn't do that.
So let's go back to like Joe getting out of bed. MGK, okay, look, you can diss Eminem. You could say what you want about Eminem. I bet right now tons of people, little rappers, diss Eminem, make parodies of Eminem, all sorts of shit. But how are you going to get Eminem out of bed? Where's the line? You got to cross that line, right?
Sure.
And you know what? Who crossed the line once upon a time back in the day? A young Eminem. That's part of how he got there, by like pissing off the world and shit. So what I feel like is, in a sense, MGK is kind of trying to 8 Mile the situation by playing his smartness here and understanding that he's going to, like, it's not like, so MGK came in and flat out is like, I'm not the GOAT. You are. I know you're better than me.
Right.
Whatever. But you know what? You're rich and you're a whiny old man. And I think that's my favorite part of MGK's diss. It's like, yo, Eminem is worth $190 million right now. Some of his complaints are a little weird to me sometimes, you know, and Eminem chooses to stay out of touch with life, and he really is a social recluse. He's not, I mean, apparently he started using the internet over the last couple of years, but it's kind of recent and stuff. And then you have a guy like, and reading the dictionary is not an efficient way to gain language.
Here we go.
I just read books because, like, take the word beholden. It took me a really long time to wrap my head around how to use it in a sentence and not be stupid about it, because it's a real word. B-E-Holden. It's got my fucking name in the word. And it's kind of like being forced upon to take on a certain obligation to a situation. So like I don't want to be beholden to describing beholden to people would be a good use of the word and how I did it.
Like, it's not like you're the man of the house now.
No, it's more like, okay, it's not about that. It's more along the lines of like taking creating an obligation to a thing, to be stuck committing to something. So beholden is on par with being within a commitment to something else. And it took me a long time to wrap my head around how to use it, and it was because I kept reading it and, you know, seeing it used in sentences and stuff. And the dictionary, while being a lovely book for telling you definitions and is a great way to spot check your worth, is not necessarily the best way to acquire communication skills and understanding and context. Context is super important. Now, on the other hand, I do disagree with Joe Budden that Eminem has no content, and I think Eminem is going to come back and he is going to rip MGK to shreds, but my fear for Eminem's response is that it's going to be like the diss songs back at the Sauce and all these other ones from back in the day. Like, we used to sit there on YouTube back in the early days and just watch Eminem diss tracks from all those mixtapes back in the day and shit, you know? And when you play like 25 Eminem diss tracks next to each other, it's pretty formulaic. And if Eminem comes back with that level of formulaicness to the way he approaches it, I see how MGK stands a chance in this fight more than people are going to give him credit for. You know, like Eminem is going to come in and everyone who loves Eminem is going to claim Eminem won no matter what. And then there's going to be a bunch of people who just don't really care and love the fact that all the new music's coming out. But then from a critical perspective, what if Eminem drops like a revival quality track back at this? Or like people perceive it poorly? Or what if it's just not fire? Or what if...
But what do you define as... Because, and another thing, I just as we're going with the conversation, MGK... made a good, like, in terms of fire, okay? In terms of what's fire, the three fucking symbols we talk about. I don't think MGK's diss track was hype enough because I felt like he used one flow. I felt like he didn't kind of change up a bit. I know MGK can go double time. I know MGK can do...
But if you're going at the rap god and you're trying to be the rap devil, then you're not going to do what the rap god does.
I mean, I see that.
I didn't even think about that till you said it, but holy shit, that makes me like the fact that he didn't try and go. What are you gonna do? Go tricky against Eminem?
No, but
he's gonna outrhyme you.
But it's like
this is like
Eminem, because part of Eminem's thing is that he can do tricky shit, but. You know the whole saying, like, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. You have to be better than what Eminem can do.
But you
so
can't.
Now part of it...
So you can't, though. You can't beat Eminem at that. He just dropped Kamikaze. You think anyone's going to beat Eminem at that? It's not possible. So what do you do when you're in the minority position trying to take on a larger army, a bigger force? You come at it from a different angle. See, what MGK did is he left hooked, in my opinion. He came at it this. Right. I don't know if left hooked is a real term. I just said it because it was like
you have to rhyme it with southpaw. But we'll get
no,
to
but
that.
like he came in at from a very different angle. I think he came at it slow, steady, and what he did is he dropped a replayable banger. It got 40 million views, man, because that hook. Like, I'm tired of those sweat caps, whatever. Let's talk about it. Like, it's fucking hype. You get stuck in your head. It's an earworm. You don't even realize it's a hook the first time. It just sounds like a barrage. And then you start listening, and, like, it kind of, in my opinion, grows in. Like, I'd give the track a 4.5.
Fair.
I like Not Alike better because that hook on that is my favorite thing on fucking Kamikaze. Right? I went brain dead. Eye drops. Brain dead. Cyclops. That shit's funny.
Pain meds. Cyclops.
That was great. But like MGK
Unplugged, Young Thug poster.
Actually,
Unplugged toaster.
That's funny. But like I really enjoy the fact that MGK took it so seriously to come at it with a polished, replayable, almost billboard worthy modern single.
Not trying to. I don't want to steal this from the Joe Budden podcast, but it is an actual crazy opinion. They were talking about how I think Maul makes a comment about how it's like white on white crime because it's like two white rappers going at it, and I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, this kind of might change the game a little bit. Like people. I've heard that like white rappers have been dominating charts and shit like that, but I haven't heard of another battle between two white rappers.
Snack the Ripper, Mad Child.
I didn't hear about it.
Canadian hip hop.
Didn't hear about it.
But I think I just want to compare it to, like, I guess the last big beef that got any kind of hype like this would be Meek Mill versus Drake. And you know what my big problem with those two beefs are, or those guys' tracks were? Like, when did Drake say
Centered around
Meek?
Nicki.
When did Drake say Meek Mill's name? Oh, he didn't. He didn't once say his name, right? Or like take Kanye West, Pusha T's little Drake thing. It's all weak sauce. It all just felt like weak sauce. They were good songs.
All of Scorpion side A.
but like when you really take a look at like what MGK did, he went at it with like the kind of ferocity.
But he went at it
That,
after
like,
Eminem dropped his name.
That's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker. Like, you know, it's that kind of
Right.
rough, unadulterated. I'm going and I'm gonna cross the lines, and that's not something I think we see a lot in these pop guys diss tracks.
Okay.
Because obviously the game's been doing this in the underground for fucking ever, and a lot of guys keep doing this shit.
Fair.
But I think to have pop stars dissing each other like that in this day and age is fucking interesting.
So what, MGK's pop?
Absolutely. MGK and Eminem are two pop
Eminem,
stars.
yes.
But they're both pop stars. They both are. Neither of them can, in my opinion, be viewed as like pure hip hop artists at this point, given how their careers have gone. They both adopted very popness to their sound. I mean, we did Bloom. How many pop songs are on there? A couple at the
Bloom.
end, right?
I hated Bloom.
I was wrong, and I undergraded that album, and a lot of those songs grew on me after, and I may have been very judgmental of how I perceived MGK living his life, and on that grounds, I think it jaded my perspective. So I think I was wrong about Bloom, and it's probably better than I thought. But, like, I'm just trying to like point out that we have two pop stars dropping potentially grimy battle tracks, but here's what I think happens. Eminem foolishly responds. And I say foolishly because I don't see how Eminem can end MGK's career. If Russ can sell out stadiums and do all the shit Russ has been doing, even though nobody wants Russ to be there, MGK's got the potential to just go do what Russ did. He doesn't necessarily need an industry. He's got a hardcore fan base. And when you've got a hardcore fan base, the industry can't really cut you off in this kind of direct-to-consumer market that exists. Given the internet, MGK could sell tickets on Twitter and probably have a lot of the same benefit. Maybe he can't get on Shade 45. Maybe less radio stations play him, but he didn't have all those things when I discovered him, and he was kind of faced a lot of these hurdles most of his career, you know. The ire of Eminem has apparently blackballed him for 6-7 years, you know, and yet he's only gotten bigger. So I'm just saying, I think Eminem, if he comes back, writes a far better song, hands down. But I do think it's going to be formulaic, right? And that's my fear. And then everyone's going to be like, ah, shit. But then MGK is going to have the next track ready, and he's going to punch back like a day or two later.
We get
and then
a war.
what? Eminem waits another week, another 2 weeks to write another song.
But hold on. But you say a week or 2 weeks, but what if it's actually fire? Like, think about it strategically.
But what if MGK comes back with something that's as good as Rap Devil in 2 days? Now, in my opinion,
it keeps the strategy going.
But my point is, you got something interesting here: the high production slow machine versus the young, nimble, popping off shit, right? So if MGK can ultimately, no matter what Eminem does, have another good, and I emphasize, it has to be at least as good as Rap Devil, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm praying he's got, like, more punches. But if that's the case, like, what's Eminem? Eminem can't do a freestyle. He might say something fucking dumb that's going to get him in trouble. He actually might have to stop and think about everything he says. He's not really good with political correctness. And if he goes ahead and says the F word that I might not have should have said on the last podcast, or he says some dumbass shit like that in the middle of a freestyle quick response that isn't.
Oh, you mean the Tyler Creator line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he goes ahead and does something like that, then he loses that court of public opinion that he has. So if anything, all MGK has to do is keep popping up and like stinging him so that Eminem says something bad. And then Eminem's in trouble. And then how does MGK lose? Now, in hip-hop land, of course MGK is going to lose. As far as traditional rap beefs, like the way Diverse Mentality is going to spit some shit, I mean, MGK's done. He can't win this beef on a pure rap front.
But isn't that what matters? Or are you talking
I'm
talking hip hop. I don't care.
I'm talking the sentiment that MGK's career is over. It's not. MGK's going to win.
No, MGK's career
in the
is
long
not
run.
over because, as Eminem says, and he already
Acknowledges
he
it.
acknowledges
I'm
it.
glad you're bringing this up.
I talk about you. You get a billion of views. Lose lose for me. Win win for you, or whatever
However,
the line goes.
MGK guaranteed helped get more spins on Kamikaze than had that song not come out to set those fucking unprecedented records and stuff. I am willing to bet that if anything, they both win commercially. They both
Commercially.
win. But that to
But
me,
like, it's like I feel like
so I think
the more we
that's
talk
what-
about it, I feel like Eminem pulled an 8 Mile at the end, where like, because listening to that thing, and I'm thinking about it now, like, yeah, Eminem has said it before that people use him to get views. So now you just look at MGK and you're like, well, this is what you're doing. There's not even any like genuine.
think
It
that's-
doesn't like
but
it kind of takes away the genuinity.
On the
is
other
that the word?
hand, I think that's exactly what MGK is trying to do. He's not hiding it. This isn't like it's like he was happy when like you saw him pop a bottle. He's evidently doing this to get more wealth, to build up his brand, to get more recognition. So you have to consider it, right? And I'm not trying to say it. So there's a hip hop side of it where I agree with like the sentiment that from a rap to rap front, Eminem will likely murk him in a track. But from the career point of view, Eminem has a lot more to lose, and MGK has a lot more to gain out of this situation. However, what I really think happens is this is maybe even artificially created. This is a behind-the-scenes, let's do it, let's make this beef real, and let's make a fuck ton of money. Because I'm pretty sure I went back to Kamikaze like more times this week because of that MGK diss song, because I knew I wanted to make this video. And you know what? It kept it in my mind all week. And that, even with great albums, is really hard to do when you're reviewing multiple albums a week, and at least with my current schedule. And I think that MGK, Eminem, the fact that it's trending, the fact that so many things have happened over the last like week, I think that it contributed to Kamikaze getting more sales than anyone may have expected. And it was maybe more than the quality of the album. Maybe it was partly MGK dropping that track. And so both of them just made a lot off of this, is my thoughts. Whether or not it's deliberate, maybe these two men fucking hate each other. I don't care. I'm excited that everyone seems to care about what I care about for a quick minute. You know, even if this video doesn't go viral or get a fuck ton of views, I don't give a shit. The fact is, in my real life, people are talking to me the way you guys in the comment section talk to me. And that just never fucking happens. So I'm excited.
It's like what we beg for. Like, we want to have these conversations all the time.
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to say here. I mean, I think my opinion has been put out. This maybe has gone on a bit longer than I thought it would. But, I mean, I don't know if you have any more closing ideas.
I don't have any more closing ideas. The only thing that I do want to say is I'm just excited to see what's going to happen.
Me too.
Which is really it. I'm
Because-
just excited to see if Eminem comes back with something super. Even if it's trash, like I'm going to say, even if it happens to be trash, happens to not even match up to Rap Devil or whatever, I'm just glad to see that there is more music coming. There is different styles and different creativity coming out. Even if it's like fact, seriousness, or whatever, there's different things that are happening. And I agree as well with the whole point of more people are getting involved in hip hop now because of this. We might see an extension to the actual pop genre, more pop heads coming into hip hop, raw hip hop now because of how
I bet you like top 10 rap disses of all time videos are about to get a huge surge of interest.
Yep.
I wanted to actually add one more thing. G-Eazy's song, in my opinion, was really not good. It's not that his bars were bad, but his delivery is trash on that song, in my opinion. None of his bars were overly whatever. Unless MGK really cares about Halsey, it really was a weak song, in my opinion. And if he does care about Halsey, it's still a pretty weak song, in my opinion. That was what I want, just in case somebody cared about what I thought. I don't know. What did you think about it?
I didn't check out the G's yet. I didn't even know they were fighting. It didn't even hit my radar.
Well, I do think MGK owned that Drake beat on that Funkmaster Flex freestyle. I think it was that dude. Anyway, we do care a lot about what you guys think too. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this beef, what you think is going to happen, what you want to see happen. Personally, I want to see this take play out for a while, but I kind of hope Eminem's confirmed, Mr. Porter confirming his response is coming, like it fucking comes. Because like if Eminem just is too caught up in bureaucratic superstar mega life, it might not look very good towards his dedication to the culture and fighting spirit.
Right.
So again, I want to hear what y'all have to think. I don't really have a set opinion. I'm just curious. I don't have enough information about how the music industry works or anything. So I just, yeah, throw it down in the comments like where Blackie speaks and he says it way better than we do and shit. Anyway, before we dip out, I can't believe I just said dip. You guys can make fun of me for that. Big thanks to our patrons, Mozart, Lindell Williams, and Super Old School 1994. We've just made a change to our request raffle tier. If you do join us on that, you get one guaranteed review of whatever the fuck you want, and we'll do that, and then you get to participate in that. So check that out, and if you want to show some love. Otherwise, you can hit the subscribe, the like, and most importantly, comment so we can have a conversation. And thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.